Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jim Grisanzio from Oracle, and we're back here tonight to talk about Oracle Developer Live. The next event in the series is Java Innovations, and I'm here with one of the core speakers at the event, Jesper Wilhelmsson from Stockholm. Jesper, welcome. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. It's good to hear from you. We met live, actually live, in Stockholm. Right about this time last year. And so Java Innovations, this conference is all about the latest in Java, right? And so one of the things that developers need to know about is how to contribute to this project, because it's a big open source project, right? So I was looking at the description of your talk, and you are going to be talking about the guide to OpenJDK development. You're also the project lead for the development guide. So you're the right person to talk to about this. So, and I'm also particularly interested in the processes for how engineers integrate code, especially with projects that are as large as OpenJDK and Linux and Solaris and things like this. So let's talk a little bit about what you're talking about. Give me some details here.
So I will be talking about exactly these things that you mentioned, the process and how to contribute to OpenJDK. It's a very large open source project, as you mentioned, and it's a very complex product, the JDK. It's the Java is used by so many people all over the world, and there are so many critical systems running Java. So it's important that everything works like efficiently, and that developers know what they're doing.
So you that's a good way of putting it, because I mean it's really serious, because these things are complex, and one of the things that I know from working at Sun on the Open Solaris project is that developers that are working on complex systems have things well documented. So when new engineers can come along, they can read the docs, obviously, so to speak. And so if you're the project lead for the OpenJDK Developers Guide, I assume that's a set of documents, right?
Yes, that is correct. It's an online document that describes basically the processes for how to work with the OpenJDK. So all about how to contribute and how to file bugs and how to compile the source code and work with testing and everything.
Okay. Yeah. Send me a link to that and I'll put it in the notes below if you wouldn't mind. That would be great. So I was also listening to a podcast that you did recently with Stuart Marks and David Delbase on just this subject, and it's really good for developer because it's like a half hour long, so it goes into great detail. Let's talk about a few of those items. So you got contributing code, you got you have code reviews, you have discussions on mailing lists, all these different ways of providing feedback and actually integrating code. What so in your session at the end of March at Oracle Developer Live, what are some of the specifics that you're going to be talking about?
So some of the things that I will be mentioning is how to contribute without actually writing code. So there are so many different ways that you can contribute to the open source project that doesn't necessarily involve writing source code. So for instance, testing is one of the ways, since Java is used in so many different places and so many different applications. There are great deal of different frameworks out there that needs to work, and everybody relies on these frameworks to work together with the latest version of Java. But the JDK developers themselves aren't really can't really test all of these things on their own, because, well, first of all, we don't really have access to all the frameworks and all the different Java applications out there, and it's just too much for this team to test everything.
Right.
So if you are a developer of some framework or some Java application, just running it with the latest EA version of Java and reporting back to the mailing list, just saying that, hey, yeah, I ran this, these and these applications, and it seems to work, or it doesn't work. But actually saying that it works is also good feedback. You don't only have to report like when stuff breaks. Reporting that something works is also good to hear sometimes.
So for new developers, especially new developers, as they approach the project, first thing they should do is probably read, obviously, subscribe to the mailing lists and get a sense of all the discussions that are going on. Read obviously your developer's guide. Is there, I mean, people should know, presumably, because I experienced this from Solaris, that there's a sort of a stepwise, process. You do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. Mm-hmm. You get used to developers, you get used to the engineers on this. Actually, get used to the code actually as well, because it's very, very large. Yep. I assume that exists here with Java as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. So in the OpenJDK processes themselves, there is a few different roles defined actually. So you would start out as just as a participant that would be engaged in the mailing list and involved in discussions and helping out with the little things about the reviewing code, or I shouldn't call that the little things, because reviewing is actually one of the largest parts of development.
I remember some of those code reviews in Solaris. They can go on for long threads, But what's so interesting about it is, someone writes a whole bunch of code or like a group of people, and in the review process, I'm not going to be reading the code, but I did read some of this stuff. You can see the code change. You can see the evolution of that particular system change through discussion. So it is a substantial thing.
It is, absolutely. And that's also something that the developer should know when writing their initial patch and approaching the mailing list, that the code that you have written isn't necessarily the code that will be pushed in the end, because there is so many things to think about, so many things that affect other things in the JDK. The things rely on each other in ways that it's impossible to understand if you haven't been working with the system for 10 or 20 years.
Right.
So don't be surprised if your code gets rewritten totally, which is actually why you shouldn't necessarily have your code written before you approach the mailing list. It's much better if you have your idea, take that to the mailing list, and go there and say that, hey, I have this idea, I have this problem that I want to solve. What's the best approach to doing that? And try to work out the solution together with the people on the mailing list.
This is really interesting. I write about this all the time. I wish other fields would sort of, take sort of get a clue from watching software developers work, because you do have processes, you do have sort of, things do evolve, through discussion, through argument and debate. And it's necessary. It's necessary so the final, product is actually works, does well, and is, something that's useful to everybody. It's not that way in every field. A lot of times, you work alone and stuff, but there's a much more collaborative effort here. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And we spoke, last year as well, because you're the JDK gatekeeper, and that's, wow. That's got to be quite a stressful thing. That's just a lot to handle. Right.
It's at least some amount of responsibility. I wouldn't say that it's a lot of actual physical work, because we have so many systems that we rely on and that are testing everything. For basically every time someone pushes a change into the source code, large number of tests starts to run automatically, and we have this big pipeline of millions of tests that are running on every change. So I don't have to manually go through everything, but I look at the results.
Yeah, well, it's better that you do it than me. So, all right, Jesper, it was good talking to you tonight. I really appreciate it. contributing to OpenJDK. That's what you're talking about. Oracle Developer Live. This is the end of March, and I'll put all this information, down below, and talk to you soon. Actually, live soon.
Yep.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Bye.